your body releases a bunch of DMT into the system, and they latch onto that fact, if it is a fact, and say that like that's the drug that basically escorts you into the next world and all this other stuff.
Oh boy.
Well, there's a part of the brain, it's called the reticular activating system, RAT, and RAS, and they've done a lot of research in that, which is it's in the lower brain, and it's the part of the brain that is the filter for awareness. And they use it as an example. If a mother
that really
is sleeping,
focused.
and then her baby is crying in the next room, even though she's in a deep sleep, she'll hear the baby and wake up. And so that's the reticular activating system. In other words, there's parts of your brain that have awarenesses that are even surprising to you, the person, because you wouldn't know. And so the people who are doing the drug research, like what you're talking about, they frequently go to that part of the
doesn't
brain
really look that blue.
and say that this is the part that's being stimulated by these drugs like DMT.
Well, I guess that would explain, why you'd have a perception that you were, aware of another dimension that you weren't aware of previously. Maybe it's, because that part of the brain is short-circuiting, you're getting like a really unique perception that you wouldn't really get any other way. But yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know. When I was in high school, I tried mushrooms and acid a couple times. I've done some psychedelics, but from what I understand, DMT is like a totally different ballgame.
But my question is, and this is what I did some research on when I was in college, why can't you achieve this through normal meditation? Or why couldn't you achieve that state through, doing certain exercises in your brain, like say isolating yourself for an hour, or I don't know, just that kind of thing. Like, for example, some of the Native American peoples, they have sweat lodge ceremonies where they don't use drugs, but they, put themselves into different experiences and claim that they have the similar experiences. So I guess my argument is are not these states also achievable naturally?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is possible that in the 60s and 70s, then they have like all those the isolation tanks they put you in, where they put you in this tank where you're kind of floating a little bit in the water, and it's soundproof and lightproof, and you're just kind of like completely sensory deprivation tank, I guess is what they called it.
That's right, they did have that, and I think I tried it once. I thought it was awful. I couldn't take it. Get me out of here.
You've actually got one of those? How long were you in it for?
I don't know. I think maybe a half hour or something. I don't know. But because I didn't like the feeling of floating on the water. I don't know. I mean, because they had it built up with some kind of a salt or something. So, I mean, the point is that you're supposed to get into a deep state of relaxation, and I never felt relaxed. I said, forget it. You're right.
I think it'd be interesting to try it out, but I feel like it would probably drive someone crazy after a while.
I mean, sensory deprivation is one way you could achieve what's called an altered state of consciousness. That's one way, but there are other ways. I mean, people could go sit on the bank of a river and watch the sunset and get into an altered state of consciousness. So I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah, I think DMT is just the shortcut, and for people that have the money, they take that shortcut. And there's a part of me that's curious about it, just because I'd like to know, what they're talking about. In terms of like, they say the way it's described, it's nothing like a normal, typical psychedelic. It's a completely different experience. And so, I'm curious, but at the same time, it's like I don't know if I want my my brain's been through a lot. I don't know if I want to give it any more trauma.
Well, but in this book I have, where the psychiatrist administered to a couple hundred patients, a third of the patients had no experience whatsoever. So it's amazing. And then there were like a third who said they had spiritual experiences, and a third that just kind of had, something, but they weren't sure what it was. So I don't know if it's guaranteed. My fear would be if I bought something like that on the street, I wouldn't trust it at all. I mean, the whole thing is I'd want to know what the source is, and I want to have some kind of guarantee that what they say it is, it really is,
Yeah, and that, because it's unregulated, stuff like that, you never know what you're going to get. I had in high school, because especially during that time period, they were really cracking down on LSD. There was like one guy that was basically manufacturing it for the entire country, and they busted him, I think like in the mid-90s or something like that. He was living in an old nuclear missile silo and manufacturing all that stuff. I forget the guy's name, but you can probably find him pretty easy on Google. And after that happened, a lot of the LSD that was on the market that friends of mine were taking and stuff, it was just, you never knew what you were going to get. It was just some guy making something in their garage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know that LSD was developed by this chemist in Switzerland named Hoffman, and what he was trying to do was he was trying to find a cure to schizophrenia, and so he thought the way that I could develop the cure is I need to develop a drug that will produce temporarily the state of schizophrenia, and then I could find an antidote for it. And so that's what he was trying to do, and he developed that. And then apparently it was something different. It may have produced some symptoms of schizophrenia, but it also produced some symptoms of euphoria. And then it got out, and then people found out about it, and that's how it got out of control.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and you can find videos of the British and American governments giving it to GIs and seeing if they were looking for a performance enhancement drug, and by the end of the test, and on the British one of the guys, like they're doing it's a simulated maneuver. And by the end of within an hour of being administered the LSD, one guy's climbed up a tree, one person is in the fetal position crying, another guy's wandered off. They're just, it was like, it's a very interesting video, and it's interesting that they released it to the public. But yeah, you can check that out on YouTube. Just look for LSD British troops.
But see, that's unethical experimentation, because they gave the drugs to those people without telling them what they were doing. That's totally unethical.
Of course.
Right. Well, the other thing is not knowing what kind of side effects. And I had a friend, and you could argue maybe this would have happened anyway, but he was a normal guy in high school, and then started doing a lot of drugs, and it actually triggered schizophrenia. So when he was in his early 20s, he was nutty. Like he thought that he was communicating with a dog planet, and just bizarre stuff.
Yeah, but there was also a lot of research out of Czechoslovakia where they were administering LSD under controlled circumstances and controlled dosages for treating alcoholism, and they actually had a very substantial success rate. They would give a dose of LSD to somebody for a week, for either a weekend or a day, and they would go through a lot of type of psychotherapy where they would go through, their whole life and how was the drinking affecting their life, this and that. And apparently they had a higher cure rate of alcoholism, because the cure rate of alcoholism is very low. It's like under 25%. And with this, they had a higher cure rate. But with all this stuff going on in the 70s and 80s, then all the research stopped with LSD.
Yeah, they've been doing studies like that now with psilocybin, the mushroom, magic mushroom stuff, and having similar results. Apparently, they give you a dose of psilocybin, and it's not just alcoholics; it's a lot of people with any kind of addiction, and they go in through a session with a therapist, and they only do I think they only do 1 or 2 sessions, and they said they had a pretty high rate of success curing all kinds of addiction.
Well, I saw on the TV that they're trying to pass laws in Arizona making the mushrooms legal. Have you heard about that? Have you seen that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's definitely there's going to be a market for that. In fact, I was talking to a cattle rancher out here who is wanting, he's lobbying for that because one of the things you can use to grow, one of the mediums you can use to grow the mushrooms is cow dung, and he wants to actually convert part of his business into doing that.
There you go. But let's just stand by. I don't know if anybody else is listening and wants to break in. KG7, Noel.
KI7WQH.
But anyway, this thing about the DMT, I have the book here. I can get the name of it if you ever want to read it. But he wrote, the psychiatrist wrote 2 books. And the first book was about his experiment at the University of New Mexico, where he administered it to like 200 or 300 people under the control setting. And then the second book, he was trying to link the Old Testament prophets, and he was making the argument that they were using DMT as a stimulation for their prophecy work. And he wasn't offering any proof because there was no archaeological proof that I know of that these guys were using any drugs. I don't even know. They'd have to find a pipe or something that had the residue in it. But he makes a very interesting argument about the prophets in the Old Testament and the fact that they were in these DMT states of consciousness. Over.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories about that. With just any kind of magic mushrooms obviously are naturally occurring, and the stoned ape theory is what some people call it, where you have primitive humans who maybe make a leap in progress because one of them, maybe even by accident, finds a mushroom or something in the forest while foraging and goes, oh, this looks good, eats it, has this crazy psychedelic experience, and while under the influence of that drug decides, it would be a good idea if I could sharpen this rock and turn it into an arrowhead.
Oh, that's interesting. So it would sharpen their abilities, their cognitive abilities.
Yeah, just give them like a temporary revelation of something they wouldn't have thought of normally. And it's not totally crazy to think that maybe something like that's happened. Even like regular animals will eat fermented fruit to get drunk on purpose and stuff like that. So having primitive animals taking a substance now, or even like those frogs that make you hallucinate. Dogs, there's dogs that they end up dying, some of them, because they eat one on accident, or they lick it or bite it. It gets them messed up, and then they get addicted to it.
There's something to say about it if it's a natural occurring, plant, as opposed to some of these artificial drugs that they're passing out to everybody. Some of the mental health, like Prozac and all this other stuff. So I could see an argument that maybe it's better to take something that's naturally growing as opposed to taking something that's been artificially made by man.
Yeah, at least then you know some of the parameters of it.
It's getting clean. Look at that.
But anyway, it's interesting that that they're thinking of passing a law that would authorize or make mushrooms legal. I don't know. I was really surprised when I heard that on TV.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the best idea because not everyone reacts well under the influence of those.
Well, I've had some clients who've taken ayahuasca, and here's the thing. They say that you have to eat, in order to get that high, you have to eat enough of it so that you get sick and throw up first, and then after you throw up, you get high. And I thought, no, thank you. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, no, I've heard it makes you real nauseous, or at least if you do it the way that they do it in Peru, or I think that's where it's from. But yeah, there was that case in New Mexico. I want to say it was either last year or the year before, not that long ago, where there was a guy on an Indian reservation that did some mushrooms and was convinced that his friend, like they were watching, I guess, like The Walking
Dead. How did it do that? That's really weird. It just jumped.
Go on these ayahuasca tours where you go into the Amazon
So they
jungle or
notice is-
something, and you find some shaman, and you pay these guys a couple $1,000s or whatever, and then they take you back in the jungle, and then they give you the ayahuasca and stuff. And I thought, I mean, who in your right mind would trust these people, and then to go into a foreign environment like that, which I think is already pretty dangerous and everything, and then to trust somebody and pay them all this money, I think,
Yeah, it's just rich people that want to culturally enrich their lives with the with the drugs of another culture.
There you go.
The real scary one, though, I forget what it's in South America. I forget which country, but they have this drug that comes. I think it's from a flower, but it's basically truth serum. But it puts you in like a very suggestible state, and they have these gangs that actually hire hookers to put it to go hang out with guys, especially foreigners.
Yeah, I think they're going to get it on. You go like this.
Powder, and it basically turns them into like they're hypnotized. It turns them into a zombie, and so after you're under the influence of this drug, they tell you to go back to your hotel room and give you the ATM card and go to the ATM, and some people actually have bad reactions to it and die. But if you survive it, you wake up the next day and you have zero memory of the entire ordeal. Even though you're on all these security camera footage, walking around with these girls, giving them money and stuff.
And they've cleaned out your bank account?
Yep, and I forget the name of it, but you can find, I think Vice did an article on it a couple years back, but it was actually discovered by, I think the FBI found out about it back in the 1950s, and they've actually imported it and used it in interrogations.
I've read something about that. I think it was going on in Colombia about this guy who, met this woman in a bar, and he didn't know, that she was a hooker and whatever, and then she seduced him and took him back to her hotel or his hotel, and, it was such a great experience, and then he blacked out, and just like you said, all of his money was gone, and his passport and everything.
Yep, and they'll be on video giving it over, and they won't remember a thing. I think the local, it was like Devil's Breath or something like that.
Graham, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm just over here cleaning the radio. Am I still on frequency?
I think you went off a little bit.
Yeah, because I bumped the VFO while I was cleaning it, and I noticed it was kind of hard to get back on. Okay, how about now?
Worse.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, you're in the right ballpark now.
I'm just kind of using the up and down buttons to try and nudge it.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close now.
It's amazing what some armor all will do to a radio.
Yes.
This thing's filthy. But I think that the radio isn't actually a painted cover. I think it's vinyl, which is perfect. I don't like radios that are painted.
I thought it's metal. I didn't think it was vinyl. I thought it's a metal cover.
I'm not sure, but it definitely popped up after I put armor on it like it was vinyl. Yeah, you know, I see where it's scratched. You're right. It's definitely paint. It's kind of a weird bluish, greenish, grayish color, you know?
That sounds right.
And then the tuner has two different colors. The bottom half and the top half are different colors for some reason.
Does the tuner get its power from the radio, or do you have to plug the tuner into another socket?
The tuner has a 12-volt computer cord socket on the back of it. I haven't powered it up yet.
But what did he say? He doesn't have the connecting cable from the tuner to the radio?
Correct, the interconnect. Is like that weird square plug with all the pins on it.
But that's a pretty standard icom cable. I wonder, if you can get one if you can't find it.
I've got half of one over here from when I had mine, and they only have like 3 or 4 wires in them to start with. So I think if you were really serious, you probably could just run 3 or 4 wires. But they're hard to find. They're really difficult to find.
Well, maybe Alan will find his, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
When I talk to him tomorrow morning, I'll ask him if he's gonna, if he can try to find it.
But the receiver on this thing is phenomenal. I mean, it's really good. I could just sit here and listen to you guys talk all night long. It's just awesome.
Well, and if you go to either AM shortwave, I don't know if you ever listen to that. That receiver is great for AM shortwave.
I'm gonna check it out because the one I had was not. But they made some revisions between the 51 and the 51A.
Yeah, just go to 5.960 and go up from there to like 6.12, and you'll find a lot of stations between there. That's called the 49 meter band, and you'll be able to hear some nice stuff there. And there's also a international religious station. I think it's 5.075 or 5.065. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But I think they come out of Tennessee, and they transmit on those frequencies.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. It's too bad the paint's all dinged up on this thing. Otherwise, it would be pretty good radio.
KE600WB, I forgot.
You forgot what? Your call sign?
No, to ID.
Terry, it was snowing again today, but it didn't stick.
Nah, they had nothing like that here. We almost had some sunshine for a little bit around that eclipse thing, but it clouded right back over, and it was just cloudy all day, on and off. But that should be the end of it. Now we're going into the 70s.
All right, did you try to experience the eclipse at all today?
Yeah, I am not interested in that.
I didn't look at the sky, but there was a slight darkness around that time, and then I watched it on the TV. That was about it.
Yeah, we went out there and looked at it really quick.
Yeah, didn't you think it got a little darker?
Well, I wasn't really interested in looking at it. She asked me for a welding helmet to look at it. And so I went out there and it was just a little sliver starting to cover. I looked at it and said, nah, boring. Here you go. I wanted to see the SpaceX thing. I think it was John told me he saw it.
Oh, good.
I saw a video of it with a guy using a tracking telescope of the launch and the rocket and all that thing. It was pretty cool watching it.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a little break here. I'll be back maybe in I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes or something. I got a couple things I want to do. This is KG7OL QRT.
Alrighty.
It's dog time.
You got to go get some shrooms.
That's what happened with that bear out there.
Try about and come back and let us know. Hey, how you doing there? I'm going to be right back to E6RWB.